O365Eh. And on this episode, we're joined by fellow Microsoft MVP and Chief Product Officer from CallRoute, Mark Vale, to talk about Teams voice solutions, including their direct routing as a service offering. So with that, Mark, welcome. Thanks for coming on. And I'll just turn it over to you to give a little introduction about yourself and CallRoute.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me. I was told your section is going to take 15 minutes, so that was quick for you. I understand it. I'm going to share my screen, just give you a brief of an intro. So no boring slides really, but this is what CallRoute is. So we started off as a SBC as a service in the cloud, and we've expanded on that to bring a lot of value to the product as well as the voice routing side of things. So what we did originally, we were a PSTN carrier ourselves with our own cloud SBC, as many carriers kind of started off, but then we broke it out into allowing customers to bring their own carrier to us, and then allow them to use our phone number management solution, call routing engine, and also our connectivity options for Microsoft Teams, but also to other UCaaS platforms, other CCaaS platforms, and on-prem PBXs, if you still have them these days, like the Cisco's and the Avayas, ATAs, to basically create like a middle call layer between all your disparate phone systems in the cloud, so that you could just connect everything to us, and we would route on net and between carriers, and two carriers and two phone systems, etc. So we're pretty much plug and play as a service, no infrastructure, just sign up on our website and away you go. There's no waiting for services to spin up. And then we decided, well, we saw this product on the market called Teams Boss, and then we decided that we could do a better job. Joke, Michael.
And you're still trying, but I applaud you for it.
So we come from a end user or end IT admin user perspective. So our product and portal is designed really for the non-techie person, really, or the non-specialist, I suppose, is the right solution example. And originally, they could do basic number assignments and policy assignments in our portal rather than using PowerShell or Teams Admin Center or a mixture of both. And then we've just released the automated platform additions to our product, which now allows us to work with any provider. You don't have to use us for voice. You can use Microsoft calling plans, Operator Connect, or your own direct routing, and still take advantage of our number management and our automated MACD platform. So that's really CallRoute in a nutshell. You can use us for voice and for management, or for management or for voice, or both. It's entirely up to you. I can show you a bit around the portal if you want now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Makes sense. Yeah. So this is the portal that everyone gets. As you can see, it's still kind of SBC orientated, the dashboard. But we have the carrier section where you can connect up all your carrier SIP trunks. You can even connect your on-premises SBCs to us if you want to put us downstream to your SBC. So if you've got physical phone line connections on-prem, you can connect CallRoute to those. Or you can choose from a list of carriers that we've already interconnected with and profiled, and you can just click connect and enter your credentials and away you go. So if you're with BT, for instance, just put in your BT username, password, etc. and we can register the SIP trunk. If it's IP whitelisting like Gamma would be, it's just, that's the wrong example, but if we do Connect AI, it's a better one. You make a connection, we issue an IP address, send that off to Connect AI and build a trunk for you and for your service. And then they show up here as your connected SIP trunks or your upstream PSTN connections. Then we have the number section. So we work with your own BYOC numbers, Microsoft calling plan numbers, Operator Connect, or even your own direct routing. So obviously with the Microsoft calling plan and Operator Connect numbers, those numbers are already populated in your tenant. So we can synchronize those from your tenant and pull them into our platform and put them into ranges accordingly. And for direct routing ranges and bring your own, you can simply add your ranges here as you see fit. Add your tags if you want to tag your numbers, gold, silver, bronze, customer service, sales, etc. You can do that. And obviously on a per number basis, you can assign and unassign how you see fit. And obviously, we'll show you whether it's a resource account number or whether it's a user DDI type number. There are some benefits for using us for voice transit rather than using direct routing or calling plans operator connect. We have additional number routing options where you can choose a primary route to a particular user, what persona they're going to get. Also secondary paths, so if Teams is down, we can reroute to cell phone or whatever it may be, or a backup phone system or contact center. It doesn't really matter, just whatever service it's going to there. But we can only do that if we're carrying the traffic. We can't do that if your calling plans are using your own direct routing or operator connect. In the services section, this is where you connect your downstream services. So that could be Teams, it could be SIP trunk to Cisco, Avaya, Mitel, whatever it might be on-prem. ATA, and we also allow you to register SIP phones to us as well. But you can simply go and connect your service up to us. Some are out-of-the-box integrations, or you can just do a generic connection, which is just a generic SIP trunk, and make the connection accordingly. Teams obviously is self-service, it's just sign in with your admin account. We go and do the direct routing as a service deployment in PowerShell in the background. And then once we've connected to Teams, we have a list of your users in here, and what their phone number is, if they've got a phone number, what their capabilities are, what their status is, whether they've got, basically voice or not. We work with any Teams user, so even non-phone system users, so it's complete user management really for Teams, not just voice. Inside each one of these users, you can obviously assign different types of configuration to them, but it will make sense when I talk through these tabs in a minute. So we come at this from a point where I'm sure you all know that everything in Teams is a bit of a spaghetti junction, in that there's lots of configuration. How do you define what policies, what Teams groups, what queues, what licenses to assign to users based on their job role? How do you standardize that through MACD processes, number management, etc.? So we all have Excel sheets, scripts, CSVs, a document that explains what we need to do if a user meets a certain criteria and all that type of stuff. And it usually requires somebody of sufficient skill to go and execute all those, either in a fully manual process or a semi-manual or semi-automated process. It's never really completely hands-off. So we aim to try and solve that by giving an admin the ability to do no-code automation and giving them the space to create standards or standard experiences based on user roles. So obviously we start with.
Hey Mark, sorry, I just want to stop you real quick. Before you get into like the policies sort of on the end user side, I just want to sort of maybe circle back and just ask a question about the call routing side of things. So you mentioned that you'll have the teams, you can have your own like SBC and configuration, sort of like with analog lines, etc. on-prem. With your call routing service, you have the ability to then route calls from Teams to your on-prem SBC, dial, analog extensions or bells or something like that. Is there like a configuration area that you sort of do that within CallRoute, or is that strictly all done within Teams? Like when you dial a number, go down this, I guess, SBC or path kind of thing.
So at the moment, it's route the call to us and we'll route it on. So it's all DDI based. So that's one caveat at the moment, is that anyone who's going to route is going to be DDI, or if it's going to be extension based, it's going to have the line URI with the EXT on the end of it. And we'll route it accordingly. So everything goes into the numbers section of our portal. And once we know about the number and its destination, we'll route it based on its destination. So that, to give you an idea, if you go to here, for instance, let's say you had this range was pointing towards Teams as a default, but actually this number here, 1000, is sitting on a contact center, for instance, that's connected to us. You'll be able to route that to the contact center service
Gotcha.
It'd be Cisco in here. And then when we receive calls from whatever platform, we'll know that that number is for that service. So then we'll route it onto that service.
Gotcha. So then you'll whatever number that you have programmed, you specify where it's supposed to end up going, and
Yes.
then when you get the call, you say, okay, go there.
Yeah, we won't. If we know about the call, it should be routed internally. We'll basically route it on our side. We won't send it out to the carrier to come back in.
Do you have the ability to specify non-proper, I guess, extensions or numbers?
Fake numbers, you mean?
Yeah, so if you have an
Yeah.
extension, you're so like, hey, we're doing 6-digit dialing from Teams. We want to go up to CallRoute and then go to the SBC, or hey, we have to create a whole bunch of voicemail redirects on, like, say, Anywhere 365. We want to go from Anywhere to Teams.
Yeah, future CallRoute will. It's planned for the next number management update. But right now it's DDI only. But yeah, we're planning to do full extension stuff. So.
Hey, I have a question, Mark.
Yeah.
How might this work? You said you can integrate with any platform and including Operator Connect. So how might it work with Operator Connect? Are you actually running the provisioning?
So the Operator Connect is basically the calling plan, Operator Connect, and direct routing elements. And here is essentially you're not using us for call transit at that point. So we don't go to the operator and say, this customer is using CallRoute, but they've got OC numbers from you. Can you redirect the calls to us while we do some funky stuff to their call treatment? It's not that. It's just for the calling plan, Operator Connect, and direct routing numbers that you might have in your tenant. We're basically a user provisioning engine for the end user. We don't touch the voice path for that.
So do you handle, so they still have to directly talk to their provider to get some numbers. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, every provider operates differently and have different sets of requirements and stuff like that. So
how, maybe talk a little bit about what permissions an org would require to get this tool to run for them.
To users for voice, it's basically team service admin permission. There's a couple more just for the deployment side of things. So when we go and do the SBC domain authentication, stuff like that, we'll need like license admin and a few other least privileged roles, but that's only literally for deployment. As soon as the deployment's finished, it can just be Teams service admin.
Remove the other roles you don't need at that point.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Hey, Mark, I wanted to jump in for a quick question. If an organization has hybrid Cisco and Microsoft Teams, are you able to support both from an end user perspective, like have a Cisco number and endpoint and also a Teams number and endpoint?
No, there's other tools on the market for that one.
Okay.
So we're just basically it's SBC, simple routing scenario. Most of our customers will use us for either for Teams on its own or as a way to enable Teams within their organization. We've been asked a couple of times, can you do like forking calls between Cisco and Teams so that both endpoints ring, stuff like that. We just haven't had enough volume of customers ask for that to warrant the development of that at the moment.
Got it. Okay. Thanks. Sorry, Michael, I think you had a question.
That was actually my question about are you able to kind of fork the call? Because I did see the primary secondary route. I just didn't know if you could bring both routes at the same time.
No, so basically if we get the appropriate response code from Microsoft or the primary service, we'll then attempt the secondary route, but we won't simultaneously ring both at the moment.
And the secondary path, are you triggering that just on like 400, 500 errors? Like, hey, user not found or number not assigned? Do you?
Yeah, 4x, 5x, and 6x, basically.
Perfect.
Fail over on that one.
But I think to that point, in terms of managing, like if a customer was moving from Cisco to Teams, for example, then they can kind of self-manage using CallRoute that migration, right, without having to do some complicated technical stuff in the background. I think that's the intent here, is that a basic help desk admin could just switch them from Cisco to Microsoft literally using the CallRoute interface.
Yeah, so it's switching between hybrid platforms, but also from a MACD type BAU management portal. So your first line help desk can do fairly, what would take somebody who knows how to use Teams from an admin side, they can pretty much do point and click without any expertise. So it's really just a operations management tool on top. So, I'm sure that you guys are aware, as I am, when we've done voice migrations in the past, customers service transition from project to BAU, they ask questions as to, well, what tools have you got to enable us to do MACDs and BAU activities? And we'll go, no, there's nothing in the project for that. You stripped it out because of budget concerns. And then it's like, well, can you write us some scripts for us? So you scribble down a script and go, there you go, here's a one pager on how to do it, and off you go, see you later, and we go on to the next team customer. But that's not manageable. So this is a way for Microsoft partners doing migrations as well to leave this behind, to customers, to give them a tool that they can use to manage their voice and their team's user experience without any code knowledge at all, or even know how Teams operates.
Just curious, Mark, because I'm just staring at the UI. What does sync numbers do?
Sync numbers will bring in any numbers that you buy from Microsoft to Operator Connect that appear in your tenant. And we build the ranges in here into these little containers that say calling plan. I don't have any Operator Connect numbers in my tenant, but they'll be built up here. So,
got it.
And then when the user sync runs every hour, on my tenant, I turn it off because it's just wasted resource. It hardly ever changes. But for a customer paying tenant, they sync every hour. So every time we synchronize users, we'll collect the changes, update the numbers side of things. So if numbers do change outside the portal, then we pick that up and do so. That's what happens there.
Got it. I got to say, the UI looks fantastic. It's nice and simple, easy to understand.
Yeah, that's one of the good feedbacks we've had with the product. So it's almost too simple. I mean, sometimes it works against us because they think, well, actually, it's not a mature product. But then when you think about all the stuff that goes behind a button, for instance, from the inside, you know how much work and heavy lifting we're doing on your behalf to just present a button to do something. I can sympathise with Jamie when he gets ribbed for Teams Admin Center having a delete button. So, but we go beyond just the voice stuff. So the persona stuff, which I'm sure you're aware of, you can create personas that match your Teams policies as well. So select all your policies that you want to assign. If a number is, or a user is licensed for a Microsoft phone system, whatever, select what range you should pick the next number from, what tag, if there's a tag in that range, you should select from. You can also migrate people from one persona to another. So if you have like a new version that you want to roll out, you can do, and do that to all affected users in one go. The license groups as well. So you'll be able to synchronize your licenses from your Microsoft tenant and build your license groups, much like Azure-based group licensing. Team groups, show you where you can synchronize. Well, you can create up to 500,000 teams in Teams. So how do you make sure that the sales team have access to the right teams? Might not just be one team. So you can create your own team groups, which synchronize all the teams, allow you to build your groups together. So you can assign them as a member or owner to all the teams within that group. Same for queues as well. So salespeople might have more than one queue. Doesn't matter what queue type it is, whether it's direct agent, assign, ship, distribution list, or voice-enabled channels. We'll figure it out and add the user in the appropriate method. So you can create all your experiences from cradle to grave, ready from license to team assignment to features to numbers, so you can deliver a team's experience to your users based on what they need. And then you can go ahead and automate it all. So the automation piece is pretty simple. You can give it a name. And then Azure AD has a bunch of information that you can interrogate. So you can add conditions to say, well, if a job title contains manager, for instance, and location country is like, good job I spelled that right, wasn't it? Canada, for instance, then go ahead and assign however many license groups you want to assign to them. You know, you might have different hierarchies, what persona to assign to a user, what team groups to add to them, whether they need to be a member or an owner, what queues to add them to, then hit save. And then once the automation is built, every time we sync, if this toggle is on, we'll go ahead and look at all the users in Azure AD, and if they meet that criteria, we'll go ahead and give them those license groups, the teams assignments, the voice policies, the queues, phone number if they've not got a phone number, but they're licensed for phone system or they're licensed for a calling plan, however it may be. And we'll go ahead and provision all that without an admin logging into the portal and pushing buttons or writing code. So that's basically the product in a nutshell. Like I say, the customers can buy just the user management piece where we're not in the voice transit and use us for the admin and the number management, or they can use us for calling and number management and the management, or just for calling if they want to. It's really flexible.
A health tab. What's under the health tab? Is that just the syncing or?
Yeah, this is basically to make sure that the tokens are still valid and the tenant's still configured and nobody's gone away and deleted some config that we rely on. So
yeah,
and then if somebody's deleted the service account, for instance, and need to reauth, they can go re-authenticate here without having to do a redeploy, all that type of stuff. So we've got some work in the background that's moving this to cert-based auth, so it removes the requirement for a user account. But that's the future's feature.
Hey, Mark, is there RBAC built into the product? Let's say I just want one administrator to do the team's user management versus the number management versus voice management.
Yeah, kind of. We have a roles-based feature here that you can create your own scopes and choose what they can and can't do. We have had requests for customers to say, well, can I chop up my users based on location and only give an admin the ability to manage users in a specified location? So that's on the roadmap for probably the start of next year to make it more granular than just you can manage numbers for everyone in your tenant. The other bits that are coming out this year, I could probably talk about because we're down the development path of them anyway, is the ability to connect to more than one Teams tenant. So if you've got M&As, you can bring in more Teams tenants into the same CallRoute tenant, so you can share services across those. So if you use this for voice transit, BYOC, for instance, you could have like a Verizon trunk coming into CallRoute and share that out between all your subsidiary Teams tenants, and also the ability for the provisioning API, so that if you can't use the Azure AD for attributes, you'd be able to send us the payload from like ServiceNow or whatever HR system you might have to go and do the provisioning using the information that it supplies to us. So those are the two things that are coming towards the end of the year.
And so, Mark, from a billing perspective, do you guys have like bill back? Like I'd be able to program in so that I can bill back to my departments kind of thing from like a reporting perspective?
But no, we don't have cross-department chargeback systems at the moment. But it's all very like customer source development, right? So we have customers ask for it and it makes sense, then we build it. So we don't have that yet.
No.
I think we've had one person ask for it, but it's quite a substantial piece of work to bring that in. We do have call recording as well in the background available, but it's just PSTN call recording. It's not compliance recording. I suppose the little fun feature of it is it's linked to ChatGPT, so it does sentiment analysis for positive, neutral, and angry calls, and transcription to text. Just a bit of a skunkworks project, but it does that anyway. But our plan is to sunset that feature in the future, probably towards the end of next year, and partner with Microsoft Teams compliance certified provider, so that we can do automated deployments for our customers into their platform, so that they can have the full compliance feature set rather than just using us for PSTN recording.
Very good. Last quick question. Given that there's a lot going on, especially on the automation side, is there a record or a log that customers can see the exact actions that were taken with specific users?
Yes, that's imminent for the next release. So that will show up in the bell icon. There'll be a list in here that shows everything that's happened, and it'll show who's done it as well. So whether it was automation or whether it was Dino, it will show. We're also bringing out a feature that basically will snapshot users before and after change, so that if you do make a mistake, there's a rollback function. But we just haven't got to that stage of the release yet.
Looks good.
And Mark, is the provisioning all basically PowerShell in the back end? Or
it's a mixture of, we do what we can with Graph.
Okay.
So like the team groups, the license assignments, all that type of stuff, that's Graph. The user sync, we get the users from Graph API, but obviously the PowerShell is used for the team specific assignments, like the line horizon policies, and the key group assignments. There's no way to do it in Graph yet, not to my knowledge at least. So we do what we can with the Graph API, and everything else we have PowerShell workers in the background that do the PowerShell heavy lifting.
Nice.
All right. Just closing it out, Mark, if someone's interested in this solution, is there, can they just go to the website and free trial, or actually, let's just talk about how is the product priced? Is it priced per user under management, or is there sort of like an enterprise model?
So it's not a straightforward answer. I wish it was, but I can make it as simple as possible. If you're using us for voice transit, for Teams, then it's per user per month for voice activated users. So if you've got 100 users using us for voice, then you get you pay us 100 times per user per month. And what you get with that is basically manual persona assign the number management for BYOC and for our own PSTN. And then we have, if you connect it to like Cisco or anything or contact center, that's zip trunk, so it's channel based for those connections. But for the automation, like the user account management bit, where we're doing the number sync for Operator Connect and direct routing, and where we allow you to make your license groups and team groups and automation, that's basically fixed price per year. So that's based on your overall user size as an organization. So there's different price breaks. We spoke about it at length of how we should price it. Microtransactions is a lot of work for us, and it's very hard to model for a customer, and it's not really a per user per month thing, because generally when somebody starts or moves, it's a one time a year or less or more task, so you can't really charge a monthly fee for that. So it's like if your organization is between these thresholds, it's this amount per year.
It still sounds simpler than Microsoft licensing, so that's good.
I think astrophysics is cheaper than Microsoft. It's simpler than Microsoft licensing.
Oh, it looks great, Mark. Maybe we'll leave it at that. And CallRoute.com. I think that's the place to go if you're interested in this solution. Looks great. Pretty in-depth solution and broad coverage, Teams provisioning, all the number management, the voice, voice features. So it looks great. I want to thank you again for coming on, Mark. Yeah, we'll follow up with a blog post, and we'll see you at the next MVP or next conference on the road.
Yes, probably see you at Comfy next. It's probably the next time I see you if you're going down there. So in April, I think it is unofficial.
And thanks again for wearing a red jersey. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.